So it's no secret that in my opinion, wholesale is the best business model for selling on Amazon. Now that is controversial. Other people have their opinions on which model that they prefer. But like I said, in my opinion, I think wholesale is a superior model. However, the model comes with a lot of pros, but it also comes with a lot of cons. And so that's something that I'm going to address here in this video are a couple of pros and a couple of cons of the wholesale model. So real quick, before we get into the bulk of the video, if you wouldn't mind just taking a second to like the video, be sure to comment for more if there's anything you have questions on or anything you want me to drill deeper into, and then subscribe for more because I come out with one of these videos every single weekday. So to get into the pros of the wholesale business model, so there are a ton of pros of this model, right? Like I said, I love it. I've been doing it for multiple years. I feel like I've gotten to be pretty good at it. And some of these pros are a couple of the reasons why I think it's a great model. So the first pro, and this is a big one to me, is that it's very scalable, especially when you're doing FBA as opposed to FBM. And it's much more scalable than other models for selling on Amazon, such as online arbitrage or retail arbitrage or selling used books or some of those, what I would call more entry-level business models. Again, nothing wrong with them whatsoever. Wholesale is just a lot more scalable because when you compare wholesale to a retail arbitrage or an online arbitrage, typically in a retail arbitrage or online arbitrage scenario, the suppliers you're buying from, which is other retailers, typically don't want you to be buying their products for resale. Now, some retailers don't care. They'll sell you as many as you want, but anybody that's done retail arbitrage or online arbitrage for any amount of time knows that certain suppliers are notorious for order cancellations. I know Target, from what I understand, is not very reseller friendly. Kohl's is canceling accounts left and right. There's just a lot of headache when it comes to trying to buy products in volume in the retail arbitrage or online arbitrage model. Whereas in wholesale, it's the complete opposite. Typically, you can buy as many units of a product that you want. And instead of your supplier limiting you, instead, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, do you want more? So for that reason, I think it's a lot more scalable and I like it a lot more than a retail arbitrage or an online arbitrage because of that. Now, the second big pro of wholesale, in my opinion, is the fact that it's relationship based. And now I come from a sales background. I was in B2B sales for about 2 years. And so I felt that wholesale really fit my strong suit in the sense that I feel like I'm good at networking. I feel like I'm good at cold calling. I'm not afraid to do that at all. And I feel like I'm good at creating relationships with these suppliers and then maintaining those relationships and growing them over time. And so I do think that's been one of the big keys to our success is our ability to form really strong relationships with some of these suppliers. I mean, I can't tell you how many suppliers we deal with that have told me to my face, we get hit up by Amazon sellers all the time, multiple times per day, and we like you because one, you care, two, we've got a relationship, we've got a history. And so having that relationship with your suppliers, especially with your best suppliers, is going to be almost the moat around that supplier that's going to make it a lot more difficult for competitors to get in as good as you've already gotten in with them. So again, relationship based is the entire bulk of the business. It's all a relationship business, and it corresponds very well with sales experience or B2B sales experience in particular. So if you have that experience, you're going to have a much easier time with wholesale. Now, we'll get into a couple of the cons of the business. And so honestly, I see these cons as also pros as well. But, for someone who's a little newer or maybe someone who's not been in the business as long, these could definitely be big roadblocks or big cons to the business model. So the first one is that the business is very capital intensive, especially at scale. So again, I see that as a pro because after you've been at it for a while and you built up that base of capital, having a lot of capital and having a lot of products you need to spend a lot of money on is a pro because one, you're getting credit card points, you're getting cash back. The more you're spending, typically the more your suppliers are going to want to work with you, and it sets you apart from other people that are spending a little less. But obviously starting out, you don't have $10, $30, $50, $100,000 to spend on product. So it can take a little longer to scale up because you're trying to snowball your capital from the start. And if you make bad buys, that can kind of set you back. And it's hard to compete with people that can really outspend you in a big way. So the business being capital intensive is definitely a con, especially for newer sellers. Now, another con, and this is definitely a bigger con in my opinion than the first one, But in the wholesale business model, you are at the mercy of your suppliers. Now, you can mitigate that by having strong relationships with your suppliers, which, as I mentioned, was a pro. But at the end of the day, sometimes you can't avoid either getting cut off by your suppliers or getting replaced by, let's say that you've been selling a particular brand for 2 years, but then that brand decides to enter into an exclusive agreement with another Amazon seller. And so because of that, they've got to cut you off. I mean, that's happened to us before. It happens all the time. And so because of the fact that you're at the mercy of your suppliers, you always want to have multiple suppliers as backups. Whether that means if you're buying from distributors, having multiple distributors in the same niche that you can buy from at any time, or if you're buying primarily from brands directly, having other brands in that category that you can lean on, that you can buy from, that you could increase your spend with should some of your bigger brands cut you off. And so at the end of the day, like I said, being at the mercy of your suppliers is a con, but if you have strong relationships with your suppliers, especially the sales reps there, then the chances of that being an issue are a lot lower. So at the end of the day, those are two major pros. One being the fact that it's scalable, two being the fact that it's relationship based, and then two major cons of the model are it's capital intensive and you're at the mercy of your suppliers. However, I think the cons can also be pros when you have the right perspective. And at the end of the day, I think the wholesale business model is a superior model for selling on Amazon. So thank you so much for watching this far. If this video was helpful, please let me know. Be sure to follow me on Twitter @GanimCorey and stay tuned for more videos just like this.